as well as that here, an illegal purpose.
Oh, I am back with part 2. Let me give a shout out to A View from Tracy's Point, because this is her recording of Attorney Jennifer Bonjean's argument at the Supreme level against the prosecution team. A View from Tracy's Point. And I just kind of want to make my points within this argument.
And is it Ms. Bonjean or Bonjean? How do you pronounce your name? Bonjean. All right.
Yeah, hold on one second. Now, let me have a sausage McGriddle and a milk and a hash brown. And a white milk. Yep. Thank you.
Bonjean, you reserved 3 minutes for rebuttal, so that gives you...
All credits goes to A View from Tracy's Point.
May it please the court. My name is Jennifer Bonjean, and I represent Robert Kelly. Like every RICO indictment seemingly in history, the government charged the defendant with being the member of an enterprise that had a common purpose of carrying out an illegal or illicit activity.
Well, I guess I'm trying to understand, are you challenging the jury instruction, which didn't say that the RICO enterprise had to have an illegal purpose?
No, Your Honor, I'm not challenging the jury instruction, nor could the jury instruction be challenged. The jury instruction is entirely consistent with United States versus Boyle. In fact, it's almost word for word the same jury instruction. And in Boyle, as this court may recall, where the enterprise or the instruction was challenged, even though it wasn't set out with specificity what the structure of the enterprise should be, the Boyle court said that's fine. It doesn't have to be. The jury doesn't have to be instructed with that level of specificity. In this case,
but you're arguing, it seems to me, that absent an illegal purpose, there can be no RICO enterprise.
Yes, because it would make nonsense of the statute. And
okay, but is it so? I guess A, what's the authority for that, and B, isn't that really a challenge to the jury instruction?
I don't believe it is. I think that.
Well, did the district court tell the jury that they had to find an illegal purpose, so there could be no enterprise?
No, but the indictment did, and the indictment was incorporated.
Oh, no, the indictment listed a series of purposes.
Yes, series of.
Now, she stated no, but the indictment did. And he asked her a specific question about it being introduced to the juror as an illegal specifications. What are we saying, Bonjean? She says no, but then she goes on to explain where the indictment did. So is she saying that with her interpretations on the indictment, which is a piece of paper written with a conglomerate of freaking words to it, it's kind of sound like to me is what she was responding about into, so I'm like, oh, okay, let's rewind at it and see what the question was.
Morning.
Good morning.
Magrido?
Yeah. Thank you. I didn't mean to go back that far. Sorry.
Of carrying out an illegal or illicit activity.
Well, I guess I'm trying to understand, are you challenging the jury instruction, which didn't say that the RICO enterprise had to have an illegal purpose?
No, Your Honor, I'm not challenging the jury instruction, nor could the jury instruction be challenged. The jury instruction is entirely consistent with United States versus Boyle. In fact, it's almost word for word the same jury instruction. And in Boyle, as this court may recall, where the enterprise or the instruction was challenged, even though it wasn't set out with specificity what the structure of the enterprise should be, the Boyle court said that's fine. It doesn't have to be. The jury doesn't have to be instructed with that level of specificity. In this case,
but you're arguing, it seems to me, that absent an illegal purpose, there can be no RICO enterprise.
Yes, because it would make nonsense of the statute. And
okay, but is it so? I guess A, what's the authority for that, and B, isn't that really a challenge to the jury instruction?
I don't believe it is. I think that.
Well, did the district court tell the jury that they had to find an illegal purpose, so there could be no enterprise?
No, but the indictment did, and the indictment was formulated.
No, the indictment listed a series of purposes.
Yes, series of purposes pled in the conjunction.
Morning, yo. Morning. So here you can hear the arguments starts off on whether the specifications was detailed enough to the juror in order for them to resolve or know the factors, the elements inside of what an RICO consists of. You guys leave in the comment area of how well do you think that Jennifer Bonjean defense was with this one superior judge, rebuttaling back and forth with Jennifer Bonjean as to what he feels was presented at the district court to the juror. He feels that it was done and said correctly. But Jennifer Bonjean has a different view of the specifications that was given to the juror by the prosecution team, prosecutors. Okay, so it started off with this big argument here in the Supreme hearing.
And the jury instruction, which had the indictment incorporated into it, pled that there were 4 different purposes, 2 of which were legal essentially, and 2 which were illegal.
All right, but I guess I'm asking a basic question to start, which is that if the government had just listed the legal purposes, your view is that that would not be sufficient for a RICO indictment?
No, in fact, district courts routinely dismiss complaints that do not demonstrate that the purpose of the common or the enterprise is illegal in nature. In fact, neither party has been able to find a single case where the purpose of the enterprise was entirely
You're arguing
legal.
that there was insufficient evidence here to prove an illegal purpose?
Correct, or illicit or fraudulent, or some type of
Wasn't there substantial evidence?
No, Your Honor, I respectfully disagree. There was substantial evidence yes, there was substantial evidence perhaps of defendant's wrongdoing in the context or using quote unquote the machinery of his organization, his entourage, those types of individuals. But there was very little.
Before she continued, let me apply this. Because the arguments that has came forth once Sean Puffy Combs, P. Diddy, Puff Daddy, whatever y'all want to call him, has gotten his case, has won his case against this RICO narrative against him. I can see those arguments. To me, both defense teams, Jennifer Bonjean for R. Kelly, and the attorneys, the defense attorneys for Puff Daddy, kind of argued this in the same manner. So, yes, it is questionable. Well, how in the hell did Puff Daddy get his thrown out or dismissed or not held against him, but R. Kelly RICO Act stuck against him when the defense attorney's arguments retch these same element the same argument. They had the same argument about being up underneath the machine and hosting this whole collaborative of enterprise, people, this or that. But Puff Daddy ended up not getting held responsible up underneath the RICO. So I see those arguments out here. I salute those arguments. Those great arguments. How did something like that happen? Okay. And of course, people trying to decide whether, okay, was this situation that could have occurred up underneath the umbrella of being a wealthy, knowing wealthy people, or paying people off. I don't know. Could be, could have been.
Evidence almost is certainly not sufficient to meet the government's burden of proof that any of those individuals acted with this common purpose to, quote, recruit women for Mr. Kelly for illegal sexual activity or for the production of child pornography.
So I'd like to just make sure I understand. It sounds to me as though you're making a legal argument that a RICO enterprise has to have an illegal purpose, as well as that here an illegal purpose was charged, but there was insufficient evidence of it.
Yes, Your Honor,
right?
That's correct. That is precisely right.
Now, some may say, and some have said, those that were against Puffy with the baby oil and all of that, that he did have some illegal context going on up underneath his name. So those that were against him and didn't approve of his lifestyle, they said those things. They said those things about R. Kelly that was coming from those who were against him and wanted to see him prosecuted. Then we have the other side of the team members that says that they ride with R. Kelly or a Puff Daddy, who clearly says that the government did not prove their case under the RICO. This is what they're telling us. So both teams are going to fight. They're going to fight. And like I say, it's crazy because you really have to understand the RICO, all of the elements up underneath that, and all of the freaking case logs and statutes that can come along that can either help pin your back up against the wall or help you with your freedom. It's just a twisted freaking systematic fucking game out here or in there.
And I want to understand, in light of Turquette, why we have to find an illegal purpose as well. I mean, there's language in Satinwood, and most of the cases that have been cited and discussed are in the context of a fraudulent purpose that may have some legitimate enterprise around it, but there's room for confusion there. But Turquette seems to say quite directly that the term enterprise as used in RICO encompasses both legitimate and illegitimate enterprises. So maybe you could help me.
Yes, the issue isn't whether it was a legitimate organization, a legal entity versus a non-legal entity. Turquette held, and the question before Turquette was the exact opposite, whether a RICO enterprise could be exclusively criminal, not whether it could be exclusively legal. And our position is that this was an organization that the government failed to prove had any criminal purpose. The government takes the position that for a RICO enterprise to exist, it need not be rooted in criminality at all, which would fly in the face of Turquette, frankly. Turquette looked at Congress's intent, both the statement of...
Didn't the government prove that one of the purposes of this enterprise was to recruit girls so that Kelly could have illegal sexual activity with them?
Again, there she is trying to explain in her defense about Turquette, according to the question of what the female superior officer asked her. Here again, I don't know if this is the systematic game that the panel of the supreme people plays to throw you off of your game, your thinking process. I don't know, but it kind of felt that way to me. Because now you have this supreme judge who just cuts off her explanation her theory, her point, her factual point of what she wanted to present and have substantiated on freaking paperwork. She wanted it docket, and he cut her off. So how do you fight this, right? Because you can't say, well, excuse me, sir, I was talking, right? So now you have Jennifer Bonjean, who's in a very deep thinking process to answer about the Torquette and make her points have validity to it, but she got cut off by this other judge where he wants to revert back to this.
They did not prove it. What they did prove is that through the course of a period of time, there were perhaps efforts to pass along information, a phone number, to invite someone backstage. There was no evidence presented that any of those individuals did so believing or knowing that someone was underage, that you go to a big concert, there are 17, 18, 19-year-olds. Even the victims themselves said, well, nobody asked me for my age. When the age came about, perhaps Mr. Kelly may have known, and that's what I think some of the women testified to, but there was no evidence that anyone went out there saying, may I find out what your age is? Are you underage? Come back. We want to serve you up to Mr. Kelly. That just didn't happen. And in fact, there is extraordinary evidence that and members of the enterprise, these are some of the people, I guess, that testified, repeatedly
if you coming to Chicago, I'm definitely going to meet you there, honey. I got to meet you, beauty.
clear what happened behind closed doors was not something they understood. Yes, there were rules and things they did, these anodyne tasks that were perhaps a little unusual, but not that.
Let's pause that there. Quote, unquote. There were unusual things that was done, but does that make it illegal? I don't know who says that in the same sentence of trying to be truthful and have validity behind their truth, or trying to help these supreme judges make their decision based on the decision that they did make. I don't know. I don't know. I'll rewind that.
You underage, come back. We want to serve you up to Mr. Kelly. That just didn't happen. And in fact, there is extraordinary evidence that members of the enterprise, these are some of the people, I guess, that testified, repeatedly made it clear that.
Now, let me pause that too, because she just said members of the enterprise. So was there or was there not a freaking enterprise? I'm just asking for me in the back. I'm in the back of the bus, okay? I'm the big dummy around here on YouTube. But what? I thought that there wasn't an enterprise. I thought that everybody was arguing that if when R. Kelly goes down, they all go down. One man don't make an enterprise. That was some of the arguments out here. Highlight, notes, rewind that. 15 seconds back.
Kelly, that didn't happen. And in fact, there is extraordinary evidence that members of the enterprise, these are some of the people, I guess, that testified,
the members of the enterprise. These are some of the people that testified, which unbeknownst, we all know, a lot of them testified against R. Kelly. So I'm trying to see where she going with this, because you had Diane Copeland and Demetra Smith. You had all of these people come forward and put an axe in R. Kelly's back. I'm trying to make this context right here make some sense to me. You need to let me know. I gotta meet you.
It was not something they understood. Yes, there were rules and things they did, these anodyne tasks that were perhaps a little unusual, but
there were rules and some antidote tasks, even though that's not the word she used, but there were tasks. Isn't that what the argument was from the prosecutors? Presenting it to the juror that he made these rules. Diane Copeland said that. And a few others that, yes, you had to comply to those because, as Diane Copeland stated, that he didn't want anybody roaming all through his home like that. He still, had areas of his house that needed to be respected, monitoring whether if people, would not steal or would steal from him or, kicking their feet all up on the coffee table and stuff like that, or smoking weed around the house. Maybe he monitored that, but let's hear what Attorney Bonjean says.
That put them on notice that what was happening behind closed doors was illegal. And we are talking about matters that happen behind closed doors. The fact that a video recorder existed in a bedroom does not ipso facto make it evidence that there is child pornography.
You're saying these other individuals.
So there she is with another argument. She jumps right into, after the Turquette, then she jumps into the argument a little bit of less than a minute on the enterprise. Then she jumps into another one of her elements to have an argument and presentation to the Supreme Juror about a videotape. There's 3 of them. She's just slamming them out there. Bada boom, bada bang. And mind you, I don't even recall a Supreme judge sitting up there asking about a goddamn videotape. She threw that out there. It's kind of like, to me, what's going on in the YouTube streets. I was going to throw it out there. From what I hear, Beauty Sister, that she is still on the, I guess, doing New York stuff or whatever, but she's off of the Chicago, and now it's Attorney Bo Brentley, who had defended Durham McDavid and the other guy, and they both went home. So, but yeah, let me listen.
Didn't know that these girls were underage.
That's exactly what I'm saying. I think the evidence that was presented to the jury was deficient in that regard. There was so much excessive evidence, frankly, about Mr. Kelly's wrongdoing that it would be easy to be tempted to go down the path. Well, everybody must have known, but that is just not what was demonstrated at trial. And
the appearance of these girls would be evidence enough, wouldn't it?
These were not 12-year-olds. These were not 13-year-olds. There were.
So he asked her, will the appearance of these accusers be enough? I'm going to let you guys hear Jennifer Bonjean's explanation behind this, right? But I think that I would only have one. No, it's not enough. All of their legality credentials needed to be checked. There was fake IDs, according to the word on the curb, made to present to R. Kelly for him to assume or expect for them to have been of legal age. But she didn't argue that. She didn't respond with that. He asked her, will their appearance be enough? Well, if that's all it takes for it to prosecute someone off of that evidence that he's asking her, then by golly, your black butt better not rob a bank, because they gonna say, well, that's like saying, well, isn't he black? Well, the appearance of a black man. So they made a point, and it's legal to do so. That's like fucking sand in the water. I was like, what? Their appearance. And then I'm thinking, now this is a Supreme judge. Who asked that question? You know, in any case, had this been your life on the line, that you would not want just the appearance of anybody being enough to validate their point to a juror, to whether it's illegal or not illegal. That shit just baffled me when he asked that question. Let's listen to it again.
Everybody should have known, but that is just not what was demonstrated at trial. And
well, the appearance of these girls would be evidence enough, wouldn't it?
These were not 12-year-olds. These were not 13-year-olds.
He didn't ask her the ages of the girls. He didn't ask her that. So again, I've heard this over and over and over, and shout out to A View from Tracy's Point, because that's kind of where I retrieved it from, right? And I just saved it, and I just play it, and I play it. And listen here, people, it don't matter who you are and what level you are in life. When you are asked a question, you want to specifically answer that question that you are asked. Don't offer information, because it allows your opponent to develop more questions based on the answer that you gave them that wasn't relevant to the question that they asked. She offered more information, and I get it. She wanted to prove her facto of stating that whatever they assumed, the judge is assuming or presented in his statement, that isn't the appearance is enough. I get it. No. They wanted to present that these were young girls, and Jennifer Bonjean just cut around the chase and said that there were no 12 and 13-year-old girls. I get the whole thing, but I think that in a situation like this, even when you are questioned by the police and you get stopped for traffic or whatever, answer the question specifically. Don't give them any more leading questions. Just don't do it. If he says, well, do you know how fast you were going? No. Well, I clocked you doing 65. Okay. My speedometer that I'm looking at says that I was doing 45 in a 30-mile zone area. Well, that's what I don't have that, and I clocked you doing so. Okay, officer. Okay, you say so. Scream and go argue your shit in court, not in on the street with the damn police officer.
What was testified to is that some of them looked young, and having multiple teenagers myself, looking young does not mean you know someone is a minor.
Well, let me catch you up real fast. It ain't nothing new. Everybody is still hitting each other across their head with a sledgehammer, because everybody wants to be right. Everybody wants to point out the facts or the irrelevancy to an R. Kelly case, when R. Kelly hired his attorneys to do so. Y'all caught up?
And the question comes, did they have an obligation to ask? Did they have to do due diligence, do inquiry, when he said just go pick somebody up? Again, just using individuals, unwitting individuals, who perhaps even turned a blind eye or who didn't inquire further, does not a RICO enterprise exist. And I would leave with this point that, simply speaking, I won't leave with it, but the law presumes in Turquette, which was an entirely criminal enterprise. They were speaking to the question of whether it could be a legal enterprise with a one man doing illegal acts in the context of the enterprise and using his employees. So Turquette does not, from where we stand, put this issue to rest.
And what the government wants to do is simply read out of the statute organized crime. And at the end of the day,
They want to read out organized crime? What are you saying?
Yes, because the purpose of the statute, the RICO statute, is to address organized crime. Now,
It's not in the text, though, right? When you say read it out,
the
right?
definition of organized crime is not in the text of the statute. And in fact, courts have universally read organized crime very liberally, very broadly. And we're not quarreling with that. But you can't just have an organization that is not associated with any crime. Simply speaking, a RICO enterprise is a criminal organization. You can define it broad.
Now that argument there brings about the majority of the arguments on YouTube before R. Kelly was sentenced 30 years by Judge Ann Donnelly. And that was from, the eagle view that I was watching, and that was coming from a Scooby-Doo Dabowski gun. It was coming from him. He was loudly speaking on the fact and helping people analyze and understand what was the consistent of a RICO. Then he started with the chant, "One man ain't no enterprise." And of course, the confusion started to, come in after, he started to chant that and got a few or more people abroad and on board to that chant and being able to understand what the consistent is of a RICO. I give him that. He did that. He read that paperwork over and over and over and over until everyone was presumably getting that information locked in your head. And that is exactly what Attorney Jennifer Bonjean, fourth argument now, based on the questions that is being thrown at her, is all about. One man isn't an enterprise. So why is it that the prosecutors are taking what Torquette put out there, as she says, boldly, understandably, to recognize and interpret exactly what the RICO consists of? And it just wasn't there with R. Kelly being prosecuted by the prosecutors. It just wasn't there. In other words, in street language, she's saying that these prosecutors have pulled these illegal acts up underneath the RICO out of their ass using immunity people to testify against him. And it was so big and so largely of so many people to where if they keep saying it the prosecutor's way and interpreting it their way, it's going, they gonna make it stick. They wanted this to stick when she's arguing against a humongous amount of people where their belief now is coming from up underneath the way the prosecutors presented this as one man can be an enterprise. So let's move on.
Not an organization simply with a criminal. And that is what the government is asking the court to find here. I believe my time has expired.
But I mean, you're not challenging the jury instruction, so you're agreeing that everything the district court told the jury they needed to find was correct, right?
Your Honor, the jury instructions.
Please leave me a comment in the comment area on why do you suppose that this Supreme Judge is stuck on whether if the instructions were delivered correctly to the juror. Why is he stuck on that? When she's literally explaining herself to me very clearly Very understandable. It's like he's not listening to her. Yes, the rules was presented correctly, but what they were presenting outside of the rules or inside the courtroom based on the allegations or coming from the accusers were not correct. It's kind of like a 2-for-1. Hold on a second, you guys. Okay, let's move on.
We're consistent with every jury instruction ever given in a RICO case, historically. And frankly, is consistent with what the United States Supreme Court held in Boyle. I don't know how.
So the jury wasn't asked to read out portions of the statute. The
Again,
jury was correctly instructed. And I'm trying to figure out. You're saying that the evidence didn't support the elements that were correctly instructed to the jury.
What I'm saying, Your Honor, is that the government had an obligation, and in fact, the jury was instructed that the government had to prove the theory of the enterprise. The theory of the enterprise included criminal conduct that was pled in the conjunctive. And if it had been just simply legal activity pled in that indictment, it would have been dismissed. Because routinely, again, and we cite numerous cases, as does the government, district courts simply do not allow RICO prosecutions or RICO suits to move forward where you don't have an actual fraud or illegal or illicit activity that is the moving force or that is the common purpose. This would be outside the realm of, again, contrary to the purpose.
Back on the issue of whether the staff knew the age, sometimes the staff booked the travel arrangements for them, and therefore they had to have identification documents. Isn't that evidence that they knew they were underage?
I think if you look closely at the record, you will see that the government was very clever, frankly, of conflating these issues where I do not believe there was any evidence that a employee booked travel for someone who was in fact under the age of consent. So you have to remember, in Illinois, the age of consent is 17. It only becomes a federal crime if it's being videotaped. Now, do these people know what's happening in the bedroom? No, there is no.
Now, keep in mind, as the host from the channels, the news channels, I forget the one guy named CBS guy, he interviewed Diane Copeland. Diane Copeland put her truth out here as to her being aware of the ages of these females that would be traveling in and out of R. Kelly's home. And I promise you, once the other news media or social media hostess got hold of that freaking interview, they twisted and drumlined her interview up like crazy. None of them rebutted back the fact of her stating, as she stated on record, that there were absolutely none of those females were underage. She stated that. You had a witness on the stand. And the juror, I guess, didn't hear it, didn't care to hear it at all. It went over their heads. We don't care. But what did Diane Copeland's testimony consist of? Which would have been in favoring, in my opinion, what the prosecutors was presenting. And that was R. Kelly having this alleged enterprise, because she did state that she did work there. She did state that she did move females back and forth, but making sure that they were legal. And he didn't have to do X, Y, and Z because he's R. Kelly. See, you just got to kind of watch some of the things that you say, because in Diane Copeland's favor, she's trying to help R. Kelly with her truth. But then some of it can also be in favor of the prosecutorian's truth. That is just, it's hard. This was a difficult fight. It's like her testimony was a damn if I do and damn if I don't. But of course you'll have the people come out, want to beat her across the head with sludge hammer, saying that, oh, you know, she stabbed R. Kelly in the back, she did this, she was a informant, she was this and that. No, I don't believe any of it. I believe that when you are trying to tell your truth, exactly how things went, it can just so happen to work in favor of both sides. And it's unfortunate that it falls that way.
Evidence.
Was there evidence that the staff made sure that in his backpack he had his iPad and recording equipment? The evidence doesn't show that?
It shows that people picked up his luggage. I mean, people pick up my luggage, I pick up other people's luggage. Am I responsible for what's in that luggage? It just takes us to the point of enterprise exists because unwitting employees are engaging in normal tasks that they do, particularly for high-profile people.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Benson?
May it please the court, Assistant United States Attorney Kayla Benson on
The
behalf of
prosecutor name was Ms. Benson.
to his RICO conviction and what constitutes an enterprise. As the district court stated at the sentencing in this case, the defendant had a system in place that lured young people into his orbit and then he took over their lives. And so I want to start with this claim that was made in the reply brief and is made today before the court, that the enterprise members or that the defendant used his inner circle to simply carry out anodyne activities. Demetrius Smith, the defendant's...
What evidence is there in the record that the staff who arranged these things knew that they were underage?
Yes, Your Honor. So in September of...
Now, this here, like I say, is something that I just don't agree with. And I would never, and I'm sorry, and I'm a female, but this is just my personal opinion. There's nothing that can ever convince me to sign anything pertaining to the bill that will allow a person to go back 30, 20, or 50 years to come back and hunt you, to prosecute you. I would never, I'm putting that on the record, I would never vote on that. And I do understand that it may take some people a little bit longer than the others to heal. But this is where I fall, my belief, into the line of this spiritual warfare that they say that is going on. If you believe in God, God is the healer, and he can heal you, and you can move on, and the consequences of whatever that you may feel has happened to you from someone else who hurt you so bad, and we're talking about you're waiting 20 or 30 years to come back to say something about it. You didn't take it to God. You didn't believe in God to heal you and to move on. What you believed in and just is just the air itself out here, because you were able to still get up in the morning. You were able to still go work a job. You were able to go get yourself into another relationship and have multiple or one or more kids behind that. So you were able to go to the bank. You were able to go get your car fixed. You were able to get on a bus. You were able to pick up your phone, call your parents, call your kids. You were able. So that part of life right there just confuses me. I mean, to the utmost. And say, I still, and I still suffer from this. No, if you're suffering, you're suffering. That makes you incapable of being able to process and do anything out here in life. So I don't believe in that shit. I just don't believe in it. And I can say some things I've been heard about or this or that, but what I'm not going to do is wear me down. I'm going to believe in God that he's going to trust and handle the situation. Consequences will come on a person without you. I don't know. It's just 50, 30, 20 years ago, but this is where this prosecutor is about to take it there. Something that happened a long time ago, which I have always believed in R. Kelly's argument when he said that this is double jeopardy, because the things that they brought forth is things that he had already dealt with, whether if it was by settlement through Susie Logan or anybody else, it was dealt with. Why am I still being prosecuted on the same shit that developed out of your arguments 30 freaking years ago? So I do understand him when he say that, because nobody, even if you went and robbed a bank 50 years ago and you didn't get prosecuted for it, and just because this bank is coming back 50 years later and wants to tell you how bad they hurt from it, is bullshit. You coming like I kind of said, you should have did it when you had the time to do it. Hold on a second. Okay. And that's just how I feel about that. But let's hear their argument again.
1994, I'll start there with the victim, Addie, who testified. She testified that she was 17. She was invited by Kelly's bouncers to come backstage at a concert in Miami. That was 3.
Now keep in mind, and I don't know if Addie been across state lines. I don't know that. But here they did argue, I believe Jennifer Bonjean argued, that in Illinois, the legal age is 17. She argued that. Why did that not stick? Why was this prosecutor not questioned right out the door about what is the legal age in Illinois? She didn't get cut off, but let's move on.
Days after Kelly's marriage to Aaliyah, in which he bribed a county official in order to hide or alleviate the consequences of illegal sexual.
Again, now she's arguing about Aaliyah. How many years ago did that happen? And who took the stand? Demetrius. Well, not, is that his name? Demetrius. That clearly said that he coerced R. Kelly to go and do X, Y, and Z with this paperwork, that he had to do something that he entrusted into one of his allegedly managers or whatever he was to him, I don't know, of doing something that to make a situation right. But it wasn't R. Kelly's idea, according to Demetrius. He said that he did all of this. But that's not being questioned by the Supreme Judge. Do they know about it? Do you know that maybe he should have said, well, hold on though, but because in the district under the argument, it said that so and so did this expediting situation that caused this fire flame out here.
Activity as the members of his enterprise arranged for that bribery, and so we're well aware of that illegal sexual activity. A few years later, in 1998, Stephanie, who was the victim named in Racketeering Act 2, was approached at a McDonald's by a member of Kelly's entourage. He asked,
wasn't Stephanie already in the court or received a settlement years ago under the same narrative that's going on? So why is it that the government was allowed to use this person as well? Why was this government allowed to use Aaliyah again? Why is this government allowed to use, what was the first person, AC, Amy, whatever the fuck did you say about? Why? That's crazy. So I do stand with R. Kelly on this fact, though. It did come off as double jeopardy to me. Do you guys want the same person keep coming back and keep coming back to take your life away from you after something that you have already dealt with, whether your case was acquitted or you settled? What the fuck?
How old she was. She told him that she was 16. Kelly's associate then gave her Kelly's phone number and said Kelly wanted her to call him. This is the same girl who at 17 was instructed by Kelly to give him oral sex in the backseat of a car and to be vocal and make noise while doing so.
Now that argument there, I just flabbergasted with it. I just don't understand that. And this is how the arguments were developed on the premises of not attacking, addressing a lot of the young girls who say that they were approached by a constituent of R. Kelly. If you then went and told a man that, or after the man addressed you, that you were 16, 15, or 14, and he hands you a freaking number, why are you holding on to that number? Because you've already addressed the situation about, well, wait a minute, I'm this age, so I might be too young, or whatever the case may be. So what I'm not understanding in this prosecutor storyline is, how the fuck did they get in the car? How in the hell did they get in the car for them to have this type of story? Were they kidnapped? Did they drag them? Or did they give them something to drink to knock them out? Did they hypnotize them? How did she end up in that car based on a fucking number was given to her? See, if I'm going to prosecute you, I'm going to need all of those middle line as details that you choose to leave out of the story, because I can't determine whether this was intention or a wrongful doing on Kelly's part if the female decided, after she retrieved this number and knowing who it was for, that she made a decision to get herself inside of a car to be told just out of the blue, I need you to do a blowjob on me. Where in the fuck do they do that at? Where? I'm just saying, but I don't understand that the prosecution team had to leave out a lot of details to also win a case, to put the storyline in their favor. I understand that.
So that Kelly's driver and another individual who were present in the car could hear, which was a obviously deeply humiliating experience for her. Turning next to Nicholas Bowman. This is the same girl who at 17 was instructed by Kelly to give him oral sex in the backseat of a car and to be vocal and make noise while doing so that Kelly's driver and another individual who were present in the car could hear, which was a obviously deeply humiliating experience for her. Turning next to Nicholas Williams. Stephanie, who was the victim named in Racketeering Act 2, was approached at a McDonald's by a member of Kelly's entourage. He asked how old she was. She told him that she was 16. Kelly's associate then gave her Kelly's phone number and said Kelly wanted her to call him. This is the same girl who at 17 was instructed by Kelly to give him oral sex in the backseat of a car and to be vocal and make noise while doing so that Kelly's driver and another individual who were present in the car
instructed her. He instructed her, I need you to go and get in the back seat of my car. And she did that shit. I got to agree with Scooby-Doo on this. Who raises? Where is her parents? But of course, because R. Kelly is an adult and he allegedly should have not sent a guy to present his number to him. But keep in mind, Could it have been because of R. Kelly knowing the legal age in Illinois that, okay, well, it's okay to do so. She's legal, right? And he proceeds with the situation, with the procedure of, oh, I want to talk to her. She's legal. So then they blow on Joe. Come on now. Come on now. No, and no. That's just where I stand, with that. Even, I'm arguing or talking about some shit that didn't happen 20 or 10 and 15 or 30 years ago. That's just my standpoint on that. But one thing for sure, and two things for certain. And shout out to R. Kelly, because the prosecutor said right here in the Supreme hearing that R. Kelly did, in fact, ask her age. He asked her. So if you're going to have a monster or monstrous behavior of a character, they ain't asking you shit. They just coming with it because they don't give a fuck of how old you are. So somewhere he cared to know if he was in his legal rights of knowing the age of this person. That's just my understanding of it.
Here, which was a obviously deeply humiliating experience for her. Turning next to Nicholas Williams, he was one of the defendant's runners beginning in 2003. He answered phones and escorted Kelly's girlfriends inside of Kelly's studios, and he testified that Kelly's female guests were very young, keeping in mind that he was 19 at the time. He also testified that he could hear sexual activity and yelling between the defendant and his female guests. The jury is entitled to infer from that Kelly's employees helped maintain and facilitate Kelly's contact, including sexual contact, with these underage women. I want to also turn to Anthony Navarro's testimony. He was another one of the runners employed by Kelly. Navarro, who started working for Kelly in 2007, specifically identified that he would help answer phones for Kelly's girlfriends. That was his word, and there was some claim in the reply brief that these were just female guests, but he testified using the word girlfriends. And he identified them as looking very young, specifically mid-aged teenagers.
Now, I'm going to pause it there because this is going to turn your attention to what I'm speaking about. And that is these people that host these channels out here in the R. Kelly community, advocating or whatever you want to call it, that they are attempting to do for R. Kelly. Insist on pointing out who in the hell are federal informants, conspiring, scammers, doxing, you name it, all under in this umbrella, right? But yet then, as you listen to the prosecutor, as you listen to R. Kelly's defense team, they give you the names of the people who had taken the witness stand, who tells you that they were a part of R. Kelly's business-like situation. They worked there. This is what I used to do. This is what I used to do. This is what I did. This is where I did. This is where I did. But these are not the people that they fight against to figure out or find the fact, though, the truth or the lies of what they said. Because those were the people that testified that they were there. They find the easy way out because they know better than to go fuck with those people. You know better. Scared shitless. I dare you. None of y'all gonna do it. But it's easy to do it out here because you have your judge, your jury, and your executioner called YouTube, where if you don't like when it's coming to you, then you go run and ask for a live to be pulled down. Hold on one second. Oh, sorry about that. I had a very important phone call I had to take. So you says that has she's has repaid her portion back to R. Kelly? No. And what I'm thinking is, once they get to the finish line, Beauty, that will be definitely something for them to approach again, whether if those funds should be reversed. But we have to assume that nothing is going to happen right now until R. Kelly can win his case, win his freedom. He's going to have to readdress that issue once he's outside of being incarcerated. Now he can bring all of those, to me, all of those issues back to have his, civil case, bring that back as a civil case to readdress it, to see if, he can win that back in his favor for those ridiculous amount of funds to be reversed back into his possession. So that's just how I see it right now. No, I don't see that happening while he's incarcerated. First things first is getting out. Then the second thing would be put on the table, of who he wants to kind of go after to retrieve those possessions. Yeah.
And the jury heard testimony from Deronda about how she recognized Navarro as one of Kelly's runners who she interacted with when she was 16 years old, being sexually abused by Kelly. In addition, there's Cheryl Mack. She was Kelly's assistant beginning in approximately 2013. She repeatedly saw Kelly with 17-year-old Jane. She had booked travel for Jane as early as April 2015, so she knew Jane's age. And a couple months later, in July of 2015,
Cheryl Mack. She traveled with Jane, so she knew exactly, in fact, how old Jane was. But yet then you have Jennifer Bonjean explaining to these people how they have not completed entirely, totality, what the element is underneath the RICO consisted of, as him having and running an enterprise. Because Cheryl Mack did not receive any charges. Was it because she got immunity? Was it because what? She got paid off? What? How did it happen that she skipped through the loophole on something that the government just stated what Cheryl Mack had done? They didn't want those people. Respectfully to some of Rated R diagram in his octopus, right? They didn't want those people. They wanted who they wanted, and that was R. Kelly, steaming from behind the allegations and the movement that was brought forth on this man. They didn't want those people. They needed to use those people. They needed to have them put something on record to substantiate their theory of what they were charging R. Kelly on. That's what they did. How did it get through? My guess is just like you guys. A corrupted, broken down, injustice system. I stand with y'all on that shit. Definitely. But let's keep in mind those rules, the regulatory paperwork, or the statements that Judge Ann Donnelly stated to the defense attorney on, let's lay out everything that she said that his defense attorneys could not do or could not challenge. And you'll understand the fact of how the prosecutors got all of this loophole as hogwash as theories in against R. Kelly for a jury to believe. You understand that? Go and lay out that paperwork. Go and replay everything that Judge Ann Donnelly blocked these defense attorneys of R. Kelly from doing. But yet then, you all, people, inhumane, indigenous ass people are out here pointing fingers at each other. At each other. It is ludicrous. It's stupid.
She testified that she observed Jane going to perform oral sex on Kelly. There's also Suzette Mayweather's testimony. She learned that Jane was 17 years old in the fall of 20.
And not only that, because this stuff is just coming to me as this stuff plays. I don't write this shit down to remember it, or, you know, I just don't write it down. It just comes to me on what I want to say based off of what is being said. When she talked about and she spoke on Cheryl Mack, I'm going to point out Don Russell again, because he brought that out of all of the channels that I used to watch, coming from a Phases to a, from a Dana, from a over here and over there. He brought that information out. A whole lengthy ass freaking paperwork pertaining to a Cheryl Mack, but it got shot down. He got beat across the head. He got called out. He was doing that. He did that. And that came from what I saw, a Dana J. For what? Why? When you got this prosecutor sitting on here telling the Supreme Judge that Cheryl Mack moved these people, in fact, where she knew the age of these people. And then you had Don Russell come out to challenge a lot of things that was possibly or presumably wrongdoing to R. Kelly. I've been trying to make this shit make sense to me for many, many years. Not only that, because of her following base, kaleidoscope, right? Now there is a magnitude of people, because she stands firmly, allegedly, behind a Dana J, blindly, I believe, purposefully supporting the bullshit that he done, that distracted a huge volume of people from being able to really listen to these details. That's my belief. And as the word on the curb pretty much goes, you know I don't give a fuck what you say and how you act or how you do. So we can substantiate that between the difference and the the indifference of you and I, because I don't give a fuck either.
15. She knew that Jane was one of Kelly's girlfriends. She observed her following all of the same rules as Kelly's other girlfriends. There's also testimony from Jane about Juice, who was another one of the defendant's girlfriends, but whom Jane testified acted as one of the defendant's assistants. Juice helped teach Jane rules, and Juice also knew Jane's age. I believe that's essay 527. So this is all evidence that the jury was entitled.
Now let's ask yourself this question of what do you think may have made the prosecutor evidence feel so strongly to present in front of this supreme juror? One of my possibilities, and this is just my theory, it's just one of my possibilities, in my opinion, could it have been, and this is not to be derogatory towards, what's her name? R. Kelly's significant other, Jocelyn, right? Most of you guys, if not all of you guys, can recall the parent interrogation with Jocelyn, unbeknownst to her, defending herself against these parents, but also repeating and rebuttaling out a specific name, and that name was a Juice. Now, it could be possible, it may not be possible that the prosecutors absolutely or whatever got hold of that video. Either it was sent to them or they saw it somewhere out here in social media and decide to grab that and use that as part of their argument to substantiate their fact on whether if R. Kelly was having a particular type of handlers in his alleged enterprise. You gotta think. Gotta ask yourself those questions. Could that have been? She says that maybe from under Cheryl Mack might have mentioned this person's name. But I just am only here to point out this fact to these people, to you people, that these arguments that you guys are seeing, even coming from Casey McDaniel now, who has decided to be very vocally out here in the YouTube streets at the end of the fucking road after R. Kelly has received 30 years, right? Who names are they pointing out in the court of law? How did it come from these people who the prosecutors and the defense attorneys are exposing names to, putting faces? They put faces to the names and names to the faces. How come your propaganda isn't just focused on whether and show how these people have lied? That's your arguments. Those are your fights right there. Not coming out here perpetrating or perpetuating that these people that is speaking on freaking microphones who can't do X, Y, and Z about, or who didn't have a X, Y, and Z fight on the stand presented to the juror to help prosecute an R. Kelly. So I'm just trying to get some clarity that, is this only being said because of these people doing distractions? And if that's the case, then how is it that easily for an individual to be distracted because somebody is deciding to come on a microphone and do some bouffalet shit? Because I ain't never been distracted by what nobody says. I listen to them, and what I want to hear, I'll try to have it stick or write it down. And if I don't want to hear or engage in your bouffalet ass shit, I sit back and I'll wait for a moment for me to have a damn shits and giggle show. Because that's exactly what the hell it is. It's not that freaking complicated. I heard Casey McDaniel say that the Boski gun, Scooby-Doo, intentionally mind screwed a young lady. And I'm here to say that if it's that easy to do so to such a person, then that person's intentions towards and coming out for this fight wasn't there anyways. Wasn't there anyways. I'm not here and I'm not going any further than that because I said what I said about that situation, which was I didn't give a fuck. Everybody got a mind of its freaking own. And so if it was something to be involved or evolve around a freaking relationship or a one-night stand, then oh fucking sucking be it. Who cares? Oh sucking well be it. Who cares? But it was the people, and I have to give that point of view, that decided to come out and say that, oh, well, this happened because of that. Everybody had a mind of their freaking own. You can say no. That's not what I'm here for. That could have been done. But Casey McDaniel went on about how the girl, was manipulated and this or this or this or this or this or this or that. First, you needed to know where was the mindset of the person that was allegedly out here to advocate for an R. Kelly? Where was it? Because I asked myself the same question, but anywho, that's irrelevant to the fact. I just want to point that out. And there's another point that I wanted to state on Casey McDaniel, because you brought up the fact of something about the buses and how the bus rides were. And because I had to be, or I was involved of having the experience of enjoying a bus ride to go sightseeing at an R. Kelly mansion or over here and over there. I'm here to tell you that that shit you put out about that bus ride, it only collaborates what cousin for the Levi was saying. So now I'm going to have to look at you side motherfucking eye on that one. Yeah, I do, because I was there and there was absolutely nothing fucking wrong with that bus drive at all. Those people sat on that bus having a damn good old time, and then you throw your feelings in it and suggesting or demanding, because I took that both ways, on what and when and how a person should enjoy an R. Kelly music, because you feel some type of way of how it may be presentable out here. Well, I ain't mad at you, Casey McDaniels, on your opinion or your instructions that you want to put out here, but because of who I am and how I stand, and I'm going to have to tell you, you're going to have to go and tell God about this one, but this motherfuck your feelings. That's how the fuck I feel about it, because there was absolutely nothing wrong with anybody coming on here celebrating or dancing or having a good old time about Mr. Robert Sylvester Kelly's music, because do you understand that that's what brought his community together to love him? It was his music. It wasn't nothing spirituality, except for when he put out Heaven I Need a Hug, or Sadie, or what's the other song where the wife passed away, or the girlfriend in the song, those. But now you want to take that from the damn public. Go sit your motherfucking ass down. I meant that shit, and I ain't even mad at you, but I meant that shit. Who the fuck are you to want to tell and instruct somebody how to run their damn show within them playing music? Rated R. Play the fuck out of your music, because that's what brings part of the unity together with the people, because that's what the majority of the people knows and felt R. Kelly with. It's an important tool. You might as well get your ass over there, Casey, and do exactly what the movement did. Didn't they shut his music down? Huh? Didn't they take away from R. Kelly of what meant the most to him? And that was his music. And now you over there telling Rated R or anybody else to stop playing his music. He needs a spiritual in his life. Well, that's something personal between R. Kelly and God. If R. Kelly wants to sit up and play gospel all day and read Matthew, John, and say, and all of the other books in the Bible, then so be it. But how dare in the audacity of you to come along and want to instruct another grown man or another grown woman on what the hell they should be playing on their damn channel. If you don't go sit your ass down somewhere. And now I am going to have to put you into the category of a motherfucking author of confusion. Something is wrong with you. Something is wrong with you, and I promise you, it ain't the God that you're pretending that you're serving. Oh, no, sister. I know smart enough than that. I know that it's 7 out here. I know that it's 7 freaking gods, honey. And some of them are wolves in sheep clothing, or the sheep in the wolves' clothing, but they don't identify on the level of the God of the shit that you're doing. I can promise you that. And I don't even read the Bible or structuralize it like my girl Stand Up to Be Counted be doing. But she puts it in my heart. And I love her for that. But I don't pick the Bible up every day. I'd rather listen to it from someone who is so humble and stand-upish and just know the work of it and presents it to the people who is willing to accept it from her. And I've done that. I'm okay with that. But baby, it ain't nothing about the G-O-D McDaniel that I would ever except for you. You might well take your ass down there and stand on that podium. What's them goddamn pastors out there that they done expose on them panel? You might well go stand your ass up over there feeding these people all your bullshit with all this contradicting ass shit that you done did and said. And then you on Instagram trying to look fabuloso. You can't make this shit up. You can't make it up. This shit crazy. Girl, the music is one of R. Kelly's strength. He put it out here for his people to gather in unity, to love behind it. And you wants to take that away. I don't know about that, Casey. I think that might have burnt your little bridges right there. You wants to shut his music down like the freaking movement did. That's some crazy shit, girl.
To infer Kelly's inner circle knew what was going on, that he was recruiting and maintaining underage women for sexual activity.
Does the, I guess the allegation that Kelly was also inducing these folks to come in violation of state law because he was infected. Is there evidence that his entourage or the folks in the enterprise knew about Kelly?
Now pay attention, because everybody out here has had their chance of being R. Kelly's attorney, dealing with this virus. Okay? But let's see how the attorney whom he paid to have a defense for him say. Let's listen to her. This your main source right here. This lady right here. I'm trying to understand how the fuck did all these people end up arguing back and forth about it. The main source has spoken. That's it, and that's all.
As infected with herpes?
Yes, there is. There's testimony that his assistants picked up his Walgreens records. Anthony Navarro, who was one of the runners, testified that he would pick up Valtrex for Kelly. That's at A467 to 68. Diana Copeland accompanied Anna, who was one of the testifying victims at the trial, to the hospital for her STD test. And only Diana Copeland.
See how she uses Diane Copeland again? Now go back and watch Diane's Copeland interview. She states that. She stated that. Was it because she got granted immunity? I don't know. These people out here seem to know all the fucking facts. Was it? Should she have said something differently? I don't know. I'm just saying. But what she did state behind rebuttaling to the guy that was, I think he worked CBS, right? And the black guy, right? And she did say, well, I took her. I don't get no results. It's not legal for them to violate the HIPAA law to give me the results. So she didn't know what the fuck was on there.
And received of that test, not Anna. Juice, again, who Jane testified was like an assistant to Kelly, took
Was
Jane.
there evidence that the staff knew that Kelly wasn't disclosing his condition?
Well, a number of the women, in fact, obtained, got an STD. They were not just exposed to it, but they, in fact, got
But
an
that
STD.
doesn't go to the consent question. I mean, if they consented, then it wouldn't be a violation of state law, right? If the girls had consented, knowing that he had herpes, that would not violate state law?
Well, the state
right
law,
about that?
I believe the state law the violation is specifically exposing somebody to an STD. The jury was instructed that R. Kelly did not also give consent in those, that they did not give consent in those circumstances. So that was part of the jury instruction.
My question is, was there evidence that the staff knew that there was lack of consent?
Well, I don't think that there was direct testimony on that, but I do think that a jury, drawing all inferences in the government's favor, was entitled to infer that from the evidence that did exist. And again, just to complete the record on that about.
Oh, absolutely, sister. Absolutely. Illinois state, Bo Brentley can bring this newly discovered evidence, and it has its facts to it. Well, he can definitely, he's got to be able to prove what they're arguing. And Jennifer Bonjean, she gonna have to come on with it. She can't keep tap dancing around what is not. If you got this full pledge of evidence that will definitely prove the law violated the law, then let's get it going. Let's get it. She gotta stop tap dancing. Now, whether if she's tap dancing to her own beat because she has a certain strategy, then we gonna have to wait for it. Pretty much. We just gonna have to wait for it. I don't think that nobody out here in this YouTube community streets beauty is going to resolve this matter. This is big. Better than what his paid defense attorney is paid to do so for. Now, I get it. There's some objections to Jennifer Bonjean or Bo Brentley right now. People are not comfortable with the fact that Bo Brentley just ran a whole defense for Adura McDavid and what's his name? Junebug, Nick Brown, whatever the freaking man name was, right? They're just not happy with that. They're seeing it that, okay, well, how is it possible? It's, for him to be able to clear R. Kelly, Illinois, for if he was not per se against R. Kelly, because according to what I saw and what I read, a lot of his defense was not towards R. Kelly, against R. Kelly. His defense was his defense fight was solely for his clients, which was explaining to what his clients did not do. He did not state not one freaking time of anything of what R. Kelly had did or lied about. He didn't do that. So you got to be able to separate that. To ask yourself, okay, well, just because he was the defense for, I got to get ready to go to y'all, so I may have to come back because we're only halfway through this, and I'm going to do this whole freaking video. So you have to ask yourself, can you separate that? Can he be the right person in there for R. Kelly to litigate on new discovery that can help free R. Kelly? Not no goddamn Casey McDaniel theory and propaganda, not no goddamn kaleidoscope theory and propaganda, or a Dana J theory and propaganda. It ain't going to free him. Now, what is possible, because I can sense some of that coming a bit from attorney Jennifer Bonjean, whereas a few things being put out here on the YouTube streets may be gathered and inserted into some of their material to help put together some of their statements or their arguments. I get that. I get it, but not all of it. Because all of it, of the shit that you're seeing out here, has absolutely nothing to do with how the fucking law broke the damn law, other than these people, accusers or whatever, was offered a particular type of immunity to say and do what they did on the stand against this man. And yeah, that's using those incredible as unincredible as accusers. Okay. But screenshotting and copying and pasting and coming out here to repeat what somebody done said off of Instagram or whatever does not give you the totality of a story. And keep in mind, it could be anybody behind anybody on a freaking profile. People type stuff out of anger. People type stuff from being just doing stupidity shit. They just type shit. But just because they have responded to someone else that was collaborating or corresponding with them on an Instagram or a Twitter or whatever, does not mean that they were stating their facts either. They'll be talking freaking bullshit. And it just so happened to have an R. Kelly name in there or this or that. So you have to be careful of people putting together their propaganda-ass stories behind the horse's mouth who put out fucking propaganda. Because you don't know. You will never know. So that only leaves you to fall up under the element of presumption. Preassumption. Preassumption can also be fucking bullshit, which means, oh, well, maybe so. Maybe so. I'm kind of close to it. That's just like saying, for example, you saw the bank robber, but you ain't fucking sure about the color of the car. So they insert in the paperwork that the car could be either black or either blue. But because you wasn't there, you want to put the story out. Well, if the fuck that they can't put the exact color to the goddamn car in the paperwork to prosecute, then who are you as a fucking third party to come out here and try to express more about whether if the car was black or blue? Like, what the fuck? You know it was a car. We got that fact in there. But sometimes it's going to need you to put the totality of the fact of what the color of the fucking car was. Because you can have the wrong person prosecuted for the wrong fucking crime. So that's time. Sometimes you just got to go sit your ass down, fall the fuck back. Because you don't have all the fucking factual details. You have presumptual fucking details on your fucking screen. Granted, that okay. It could be helping R. Kelly, but see, but that takes us to a whole nother element of substantial fucking evidence that you got to prove too, that you don't fucking have. I love y'all. I am at timestamp. Let me see. And again, shout out to A View for Tracy's Point. And we're at timestamp 27:16. I need to notate that because I'm coming back, y'all. Other than that, y'all have a blessed day. And I also wanted to get into shout out to Lily. And I do that because of the level of belief that I do have. I don't know, and I can tell you for a fact, for sure, whether if Lily had spoken to an R. Kelly or not. However, it was good news. It was good news. It didn't matter fact. Let's just go on to hear that because I still have 5 minutes and I think the video is about 5 minutes. And shout out to Rated R for capturing that and putting it out here. But Lily got her ass chewed out here for coming out here trying to express her love and things of sort for R. Kelly. Her story wasn't believable. People said this about her. She slept with this girl and slept with that girl again, attacking a narrative where we're worried about someone's sexuality and who the hell they licking and sucking and fucking behind the screen. That's all mojo they had. But she brought a message out and Rated R replayed the message. I like the message. I got to find the message. Oh no, I always be losing shit. But you know, this is the type of stuff. If we're going to talk about it, then let's talk about the good stuff. And granted, Casey McDaniels tries to do that. However, since there's a split worshiping of the devil and this other God, that something got her head kind of bumped up there, where she's also on attack to individuals to get a story out doing so about how she feels about R. Kelly. But I just had one question, and that was my question to a lot of people out here. So she's not exemplified from this question. How in the fuck and who in the fuck are you to know what the fuck R. Kelly wants? How? Oh, I forgot. God tapped in into your ass and told you so. Okay, but shout out to Total Unrated R, and I don't think he gonna strike my page, but let's listen to this.
And thank you so much for sharing the R. Kelly petition on your page. It's greatly appreciated, and I pray that half to all of your followers, subscribers, family, friends participate in signing it. My brother, consecrated God brother R. Kelly, loves all of his fans, family, aka family, per him telling me that I was spelling it wrong. Laugh out loud, but serious. R. Kelly wants you guys to know that he greatly appreciates every last one of you. Quote, I'm in great spirits and looking forward to coming home. End of quote, his words. He is requesting that you all, quote, continue to pray for me, my appeals, and my freedom without rehashing what was. I'm confident in God as well as my legal team. End of quote, his words. He just doesn't want the back and forth of people arguing nor reminders what the accusers lied about that resulted in him being wrongfully convicted. His legal team is taking care.
Now let's pause right there for a second, because this is her rebuttaling allegedly a conversation that she may have had with her god brother, R. Kelly. Okay? And she noted that, Casey, he doesn't want or need you to point out anything about these accusers. Kaleidoscope, he doesn't need you to point out what you observed with these accusers. That message is for Prima Donna. He doesn't need you, a Dana J, or anybody else, or Sherman Winbush, and etc., to point out anything about it. In other words, his attorneys, this is my opinion, has it all under control. Allow them to work. He needs to be at peace at some point in his life, specifically for his health. Regardless of what has happened, he has to still find that peace. Not continue to be listening or hearing about discombobulated shit that can also irreparably affect the heart, affect the mind, affect these blood clots that he supposedly have. You gotta chill at some fucking point. You gotta chill the fuck out. But anywho,
that the rehashing resurfaces and only taints the mindset of those that may not have been following his case before his conviction, but has taken interest in it now and listening to social media. You never know who knows who, meaning someone that listens to social media could just be having a normal conversation, but bring up his case to a potential decision maker dealing with his appeal and mention things that could alter their thoughts for his appeal. I'm just saying, let a dead horse lie and don't try to drive it forward in reverse.
hello.
It's understood that people want to point out what the government didn't care about for R. Kelly to receive proper justice and show where the government believed the accusers along with bad act witnesses. But it's not going to help R. Kelly get released after they've already sentenced him to 30 years in New York.
What you said? Because that's exactly what I've been saying. It's not. It's just furthering on more arguments, more debates on nonsense crap. That's what it does.
20 years in Chicago, and that's in reference to bloggers So signing the R. Kelly petition is a way for us to give back to R. Kelly. The time he gave us through his musical genius talents, and every signature counts and could make a difference.
Did you hear that, Casey McDaniel? The time that he gave us through his musical genius talent. It's okay to set aside your spiritual fight because R. Kelly did not ask you or anybody. He just said pray for him. But the fight that you are enduring in is a very unnecessary spiritual fight. You're trying to do God's work and ordering in your steps of how it should work. That's backwards, honey. That's backwards as hell. God ain't ordered your steps to fight his fight. So somewhere you might have missed the message that God usually have for us most out here, and I'm going to say it slowly as possible. Peace, be still. Maya Angelou, peace, be still. Beat your ass still.
Immediately for Robert Sylvester Kelly Sr., also known as R. Kelly, by touching virtually or physically in agreement, as it states in Matthew 18:20. I love you. There's nothing you can do about it. And even if it was, it wouldn't change anything on my end. Thank you for listening. Lily.
Shout out to Rated R. Shout out to Lily. Now that's the best freaking news you can pretty much hear all day. I'm sorry if that is a correspondence rebuttal from R. Kelly through Lily himself. But people don't want to accept that. Now I'm going to put this on the record for Casey and anybody else. I am monetized, and I'm going to stay monetized. I've said it before. I like money just like R. Kelly, and I will never reach the level of being in a financial stance as R. Kelly at all. Don't plan on it. I dream about it, but I don't have that geniusness about me the way that he has about himself. So being out here trying to develop and create and put out and chat with the people and ask for a dollar or two or here and there, it helps, Casey, whether you kind of realize it or refuse to realize it or not. Because to even come out to talk, yeah, there's a premium that you have to pay for on the channel. There are cameras that you would like to keep up with so that you will be able to have the best scenes and artifacts and shit on your channel with. None of that shit is free. Not only that, I believe in each one, teach one, each one grow, we all grow. I believe in that. Not just no one damn person. We all should go up. So when you hear me be out here laughing and shits and giggling about Dana J and how he got his ring button and he on 20 channels and you got to go over here, I don't give a fuck about that. I just like laughing about it. Go on and get your coins. I don't care. But what I did have a problem about was all of the people that just did not work. Okay, I get that YouTube can become your job, but there was a whole lot of people out here that didn't even have any substance to them before indulging into an R. Kelly situation to gain monetary gain. So I understand that factor too. But see, with me, when I speak about me, I had my money way before I came out here. I provided for me going down there for him. I paid for me. Anywho, y'all have a blessed freaking Monday. I got to go get my day started. And y'all take care. Hit the like, share, subscribe. We're coming back at the timestamp 2671, I believe it was. If I'm wrong, somebody put it. mind, if you're still here, drop that timeline in the comment area so I can get it, or send it to me email, please, because I'll probably forget it. But I ended it on there. It should just pop back up on there. But talk to y'all later. Have a good day.